This evening, we are discussing the topic, Secret of Happiness. Now, as you all know, the pursuit of happiness is universal. Everybody wants to be happy. There's nobody who does not want to be happy. And this is true of all people across the globe. Now, we all seek happiness, but the question is, how do people seek happiness? In what ways do we seek happiness? Can anybody help me? Because I'd rather hear it from you, because you're also seeking happiness. Where do you look for happiness? Anybody? Don't worry, I'm not testing you, I'm just asking. Because you're all worried. Desires? To fulfill desires? Okay, all right. Pursuit of your dreams, okay. Success, you're finding happiness in success. Inner peace, okay. Here we have a philosopher, okay. Right. Meditation, okay. All right, yes?
Doing things what I like.
What you like to do, correct. Yes. So, I know, we can, yes? You find happiness in other people who are close to you. Okay. So, right, you've got all these answers, as you see, but I'd like you to examine the answers. Now, each one has stated finding happiness in something outside of you. Do you realize? In your dreams, you said what you like to do. Okay. And then somebody said dreams, you want to pursue your dreams. And then it was success. And you had, when people you like are around you, then you're happy. When close people are with you. So if you carefully analyze, whatever happiness we seek in this world is something outside of you. You may say, so what? Let us be happy. Doesn't matter. The problem here is, when you seek happiness outside of you, you have no control over anything in the world. See, people are close to you. Suppose those people are not there, you'll not be happy. If you don't get what you like to do, something that you don't like if you get, you won't be happy. So you can, I can give you any number of examples, but when you try to find happiness outside of you, you have no control over the world. This is a fact of life. We've got to understand, it's a fact of life. Now, so should something change in the world, you lose your happiness. Let me give you some examples, then you'll understand what I'm saying. Now today you could say, I'm happy. And I'm sure you're all happy. It's not like you're unhappy. You say, I'm happy because I have a good family. You're happy. Fair enough. If something happens to your family members, would you still claim to be happy? You would say, naturally not. How can you be happy? It's understood that if something goes wrong, you would be unhappy. That's life. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're unhappy. Or you could say, I'm happy because I've got a good business, I've got a good profession, I found something to do in life which I'm very happy about. Every aspect of your happiness is dependent on something outside of you. Now, this is what we're trying to understand, the secret of real happiness. So this happiness that we are experiencing today has a shelf life, temporary value. It's not permanent. And most people, most humans believe that's what life is all about. Sometimes you're happy. If you're lucky, you'll be happy. If you're unlucky, you'll be miserable. It's all about luck, it's all about stars, it's all about being blessed. Various things we think of to be happy. Yet, the truth is this: there is no happiness in the world outside. All that you're experiencing is within you and within your control. But you need to understand what it is. We have no clue of true happiness. We understand happiness when we contact the world. That's all we understand. So if you go to an ice cream parlor and you order for a nice ice cream and taste it, it gives you happiness, isn't it? So that's what we think is happiness. Or you meet somebody you like, you're happy. You have a good business, you're happy. So every type of happiness that you experience is dependent upon the world outside. It's by contact with the world. This is the only thing we understand. But nobody really knows or understands that true happiness lies within yourself. You've got to find it within. I know you won't be convinced. That's why I've got some Western thinkers. Why Western? Because I will talk to you about what the Bhagavad Gita says. That's not an issue. But you may say that is Indian. Even thinkers of the world in the West had the same thought, because this is a fact. I'm trying to tell you it's a fact. So, you've heard of Samuel Johnson? You know, he's the person who gave us the first dictionary. The first dictionary was published by Samuel Johnson. He was a great thinker, an Englishman. So let's see what he has to say. I don't know if you can read it at the back, but I'll read it out for you. The fountain of content, happiness, must spring up in the mind. And he who hath so little knowledge of human nature as to seek happiness by changing anything but his own disposition will waste his life in fruitless efforts and multiply the grief he proposes to remove. So if you seek happiness by changing anything in the world, he says, you will be wasting your time and you will multiply the grief that you're proposing to remove. When he's saying that, suppose I were to ask each one, which I'm not going to ask, so don't worry. How's life with you? You'll get up and say, well, God's grace, I'm okay, everything is fine, everything is going good, but what? If I change this one thing in my life, believe me, I'm going to really be happy. Everything's fine, but this is nagging me, this thing is bothering me, and it's disturbing. I gotta change it. So you ask the next person, how's life with you? Same story. God's grace, everything's going fine. But this one thing has to be set. The moment I set that, I'll be happy. So everybody's got their happiness pitched on something that is going to happen in the future. And should that happen, they'll find happiness. And it's not like you're complaining. It's good. But still, it's something outside of you or in the future. It's never now. It's never here. And what we are told is, if you don't find happiness here and now, you will never find it. When we say that, I know you're all not convinced. That's why I have to spend 1 hour to convince you. Ask the richest man if he's happy. You will say, that fellow doesn't know how to enjoy. Let me become rich, then I'll know. No, you won't believe that. The richest man is not happy. You don't know that. Okay. Have you not heard of celebrities who have ended their lives? What happened to Michael Jackson? Now, I'm not criticizing, I'm only analyzing. You can be right on top there. The whole world is crazy about you, and you're miserable. I'm not singling him out. There's so many other celebrities. You could be in the film field, you could be in the entertainment, it could be a businessman. You've heard of Howard Hughes? You're all too young to have heard of Howard Hughes. Do we have that? I'll put it on the screen for you. See, Howard Hughes, 1905, 1976, he passed. One of the world's richest men. Mr. Hughes was best known as a movie magnate, aviation pioneer, and businessman. He had spent the last 20 years out of public eye, living as a recluse in hotel penthouses around the world. He never wanted to be seen, like a recluse. One of the richest men in the world. He was very, very famous. After years of neglect, the body of Howard Hughes was almost unrecognizable, and the FBI had to take fingerprints to identify it. That's how he died. Nobody knew when he died. We're talking, even today, if you go to California, you will find avenues named after him. Charities are running to this day, helping millions of people. But for us, it's just a name. Do you realize what he must have gone through? And you must ask the question, such a successful person, not happy. Obviously, he's not happy. So the richest man may be miserable. The most powerful person, okay, you give power. The most powerful person, ask if he's happy. He's feeling insecure. See, you like to see a one man walking with, 4 bodyguards. Wow, kya baat hai. Imagine 4 bodyguards walking. You feel nice. That guy's worried he'll be shot. He's insecure. What happened to Trump? And do you remember he was shot at? Do you remember? Or Donald Trump, you remember, no? Because when I'm saying, everybody's keeping quiet. So I'm worried, am I talking to people or not? So he was shot at. The most powerful person is not secure. Imagine if you were in that position, somebody trying to shoot you, won't be comfortable. That smiles and all are for the camera. But what's going on inside? So the most powerful person is insecure. And I can give you any number of examples, but people, you may think, because you see them on television, you see them in the magazines, you see them being interviewed, cameras are clicking and all that, it's great. But what is going on within them, only they know. Now, we are not here to criticize people. We are here in this classroom to analyze. That's what we're trying to do here and understand what is this happiness, human happiness, all about. So friends, very briefly, let's go through the nature. I did say that we pursue happiness in the world outside. And you may rightly ask, what is wrong with that? So there are a few points that you'll have to think about happiness that we presently seek in the external world. Number 1 point, the happiness that we seek in the world gives instant pleasures. That's why we are drawn to it. Most people take up things that give instant pleasure. But what we may not realize is later on, it brings us unhappiness. What gives you instant pleasure would bring unhappiness later on. So in the Shastras, in our scriptures, they talk about 2 parts. See, we are human beings. We are not animals. We are not plants. We are human beings. So human beings are given what is called a choice in life. No other animal has to worry about this. When I say that, a chick that has come out of an egg knows exactly what it must do, because it is protected by nature. It is designed by nature. It knows what it must do. A tiger cub that is born knows how to live its life. A lamb that is born knows how to live its life. All animals lead the life they are supposed to lead. It is designed by nature. See, in other words, what I'm saying is, a bird flies, a fish swims in water. No bird will say, "Arey, today let me try to swim." Or no fish will say, "I want to fly today." No, there is no such thing. A bird will live its life. A fish would live its life. A tiger cub would live a life of ferocity. A lamb will be meek and mild. It's all set. They don't have to choose. They simply live their lives. And they live it perfectly. Look at the human being. A human being can be born in utter poverty and make it big in life. A human being can be born in opulence, in the most wealthy family, and be miserable. And there's so many cases where young people have gone into depression, wealthy families. They don't want to stay with their parents. You've heard of the Twin Towers in Malaysia? Yeah? You know, Malaysia, they have Twin Towers. The son, again, I'm not criticizing, I'm only giving you facts. The son did not want to live with the family. He took up Buddhism, he became a monk. He wanted to go away. I'm not saying that is wrong, but there is no assurance. And the choice is always there for a human being. So you could be born in the best of circumstances and be miserable. You could be born in the worst of circumstances and be happy. Why? Because a human being alone is given a choice. So that's what I was trying to say. The first point is we go for instant pleasures. Why? Because we don't have knowledge of true happiness. See, if I were to bring a wad of 500 rupee notes, 500 rupee notes, and in another hand, I have 4 big slabs of chocolate. You get it? Wad of 500 rupee notes and 4 big slabs of chocolate. And I bring it to your little one who's 2 years old. Baby, what would you like? If I show, the mother is at the back. She's trying to tell the child. Child is looking at the mother and coming closer and closer. And what does the child pick up? Huh? Even your child, huh? Because these days children are very smart. Okay, so the child picks up the chocolate. It doesn't understand the value of those 500 rupee wads of notes. Doesn't understand. She could have bought many more chocolates with that. So this is the innocence of human beings. We go for the chocolates because it gives us instant pleasure. We are not able to see how real happiness is found in something far above instant pleasures. So this is the problem with humanity. What we're trying to do here is to understand where is true happiness. So most people are caught up with instant pleasures, not realizing that later on you will not find the same pleasure. It may go. Another problem that this external contact, happiness coming from external contact, is a weakness in human beings. That is, indiscriminate indulgence. You understand indulgence? See, you can afford it, so you get more and more and more. You don't stop. Why? I can afford it. It's not only material things. It's even feelings between 2 people. Because the person is catering to you, you would want more and more of that manifestation of love. And after a point, even between 2 people, they get fed up, they get tired. See, what is the logic in a chain smoker? You understand smoking? Or an alcoholic? What is the problem with a chain smoker? See, a chain smoker, you can see, is not getting pleasure, but he's constantly smoking. I hope there are none here. But because that person won't be sitting here, he'll be standing out and taking a, well, can't sit. Maybe 5 minutes you'll sit and go out. So a chain smoker doesn't enjoy the cigarette. Why do we say it doesn't enjoy? Because it doesn't even complete a cigarette. It's in a whole, tray of half cigarettes, all finished, full. Alcoholic keeps on drinking, keeps on drinking. There's no pleasure. Then you may ask, why does a chain smoker smoke if he's not getting any pleasure? See, in the initial stage, it's a kick. Usually how they start the smoking. Some fellow would have challenged. If you're man enough, smoke. I'm man enough. They'll start just a challenge. See, you're not born with smoking habits. Nobody's born with smoking habits. But as you grow, you kind of, your peer group would have challenged and say, see, man enough. And they try it out. Nobody likes it. It's not pleasurable in the beginning. But just to maintain that status, that manliness, or whatever they think is appealing to the peer group, they do it. And then they get hooked up. Initially, it did give pleasure, no doubt. But as you keep indulging in the same pleasure, you lose it. Until it comes to no pleasure. Then the question is, if there is no pleasure, why does a smoker continue smoking? I wish we had more time. See, in the academy, we have Q&As, All the answers come from the students. I don't give it off. But here, because there's lack of time, I need to complete something, I have to give you the answer myself. But it's far more interesting when it comes from you, because you know it. I just have to take it out of you. See, the word educate. Educate means to draw out, not to push in. Educate means to draw, the Latin terms, to draw out. When you draw it out of you, it is permanent. If I tell you, you will probably listen, hopefully, for an hour, hopefully. Because I know you're all sitting here physically. I really don't know how many of you are here. Because you'll be sitting here and the mind will go for one chakkar, go somewhere, and then everybody's laughing, so you come back. What happened? You'll ask the fellow next to you, what happened? Keep quiet. You may wonder, how do I know all this? Please come here and stand. Then you'll know what is going on in the audience. That's why we keep looking from this side to that side, and then some people, especially if it's an air-conditioned room, is comfortable, you just fall off asleep. That also happens. The worst part is that they start snoring. All that happens here, we have to smile and keep moving. So, coming back, this indiscriminate indulgence leads to a point. It gives you pleasure in the beginning, but as you go along, indulging because you can afford it, time-wise or money-wise or whatever you can do, it comes to a point where you don't get any pleasure. Still you continue because when you have it, there is no pleasure, but when you don't have it, there's tremendous displeasure. So you cannot avoid it. That's the story of an alcoholic. That is the story of a smoker, chain smoker. If he has it, there's no pleasure. But the moment you deny it, they call it withdrawal symptoms. I mean, you can't take it. It's too much. You can't fight that. So this is the nature of your pursuit of happiness. Why did you start it? It gave you a joy, it gave you a kick. So you started. Now you end up with a situation where there is no pleasure, and yet you continue because you got what we call neutralized. I'll put it on the screen so when you see a visual picture, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. So it's called neutralization. Neutralization is a term. You don't have to look up the dictionary. But what it means is when you have a thing, there is no pleasure, but when you don't have it, there's displeasure. Therefore, you continue. So in the first contact, there's maximum pleasure. But as you keep contacting the object, the pleasure becomes less, 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 till it comes to zero. That state, when you reach, there's no pleasure, is called neutralization. Same thing can happen between couples. And these days, oh my God, India, I don't know what is going on with Indian weddings. pre-wedding photo session. The girl is a heroine, the boy is a hero, and I'm not saying you should do it or not do it. And the pre-wedding photographs go on, and not to talk of the wedding itself. What is it? Dancing. Everyone is a Bollywood star. Everyone. The dresses is all, whatever the Bollywood artists do, we must do. That is the norm. And the girl has a beautiful face, but she must paint it completely. So much so the fellow doesn't recognize. Who is this? So there's so much of hype, such a hype. And the indulgence is so much. And what is that? They have a first day we met anniversary, a friendship anniversary. And not to talk of engagement, and not to talk of marriage, and after marriage. So this is going on before marriage. Just meet the couple 3 years or 5 years after marriage, and find out if they have the same vibe. Invariably they say, it's not the person I married. Changed. Say, what has changed? It's that excessive indulgence. You know, in India we never had the concept of honeymoon. We've imported it. And today it's a norm. And if a person, it's an extreme importance given to each other. In the traditional families, first of all, there's no chance of meeting the to-be till the wedding day. And you'll be lucky if you have a good-looking person. You know, whatever the parents decide, you simply go. And marriage has lasted. So in a bar, a Britisher and an Indian were having drinks. So the Britisher was asking the Indian fellow, said, hey, I don't understand your concept of arranged marriages. What is this arranged marriage? Somebody decides who you should marry? And his point was, how can you marry somebody you don't know? That was the Britisher's point. The Indian was brilliant. He said, sir, how can you marry after knowing who she is? So that is why we survive, you know. So the thing is that excessive importance that is given to the partnership, it's an indulgence. So before you know it, you get fed up. In the traditional way, I'm not recommending we go back to ancient time, but it lasted. We must examine why it lasted. First of all, there was no importance given to the boy or girl. Simply get married, go. As though, you know, they're nobody. No self-importance. So everything was fresh throughout the married life. It was fresh. Because they hardly, first of all, see each other. Because the boy has to go listen to the elders. The girl has to listen to the elders. Where, if they chance to meet, it is a great thing. Somehow they'll meet. What, husband and wife? So the freshness in the marriage lasted throughout. But in the modern concept, there's so much of indulgence. Yes, it gives a huge kick. Like I said, the wedding, pre-wedding photographs and the outfits and the makeup, and it's all jazzed up, you know. Everything is hyped, hyped, hyped. And worst is the dances. Oh my God, where are you going? Practice, dance practice. People who can't know how to take which is right leg and which is left leg. Such people are made to dance. It's a torture. And then worst, they are all on stage. People who are sitting and watching is torture. And if by chance you've missed the wedding, God be with you, because they'll play the video every time you go home. You have to listen, you have to see. And nobody can dance. Anyway, so that excessive indulgence when you get into, you lose that happiness. This is a law. I can't change it, you can't change it. It's a law. So another third aspect of external pursuit is your dependence. You become dependent on factors, like I mentioned, over which you have no control. So what we are trying to do here, which I will take you slowly towards understanding, is the right attitude in your contact with the world. That's all we are trying to do. Now, that comes with knowledge. With knowledge and understanding higher values. That's the only way. I'll give you a story. What is the difference? When you're dependent, when you're not dependent. But you're going through the same experience. So you have what you call a family. You have a business. You have a profession. Anything. You go on a holiday. Any experience that would normally give you happiness. One is to be dependent on it for your happiness. One is to be independent while you're experiencing. Two different things. So a story will help you understand. Now imagine there was a river in flood. And a man was washed away in the torrential flow. He was being carried away by the current. The water was so powerful, the current. So he was drowning. He was about to drown. Somewhere down the line, on the banks of the river, was an old tree. And one of its branches was bending over the waters. Can you get this picture? The river in flood. A man is being swept away. He's going to drown. And he's desperately looking for something to save himself. And there is this tree on the bank of the river. One branch is bending over near the waters. It's an old tree. But there's a branch. So this man sees the branch and holds it, saves himself. But he's holding on to the branch. Still the water is torrential. Holding on. On the other side of the branch is a little bird sitting. A bird. And it's singing. Now what you must try to understand is, the same branch is being used by two types of living beings. One is the man holding on to the branch for his life. If the branch breaks, he's gone. He's finished. He dies. On the other side of the same branch is this bird, sitting. And it's singing. Should the branch break, what does it do? Simply flaps its wings and off it goes. So there's a big difference. Though both are using the same branch, the man is completely dependent on it for his life. But the bird is using the same branch, going through a similar experience, but inwardly completely independent. Should something go wrong, it simply takes flight. So the wings of knowledge helps the bird to take off and protect itself. The lack of knowledge in the man would drown him. So this is the difference between being dependent, which is what most human beings do, and learning to be independent with knowledge. So now I can tell you where I come from. We represent a knowledge which every Indian was familiar with. Today, an average Indian does not know. And that knowledge is called Vedanta. Vedanta is a Sanskrit word. It has two words combined, Veda and Anta. I'll put it on the screen for you. It's ancient wisdom of our country. Vedanta. Veda means knowledge, Anta means end. Together, the word Vedanta means the end of knowledge. Now, it might seem paradoxical to you because when we say you gain knowledge, there's no end to knowledge. The more you learn, the more you have to learn. There's no end to knowledge. Then how do we say that Vedanta is the end of knowledge? It has a different meaning. See, when we say end of knowledge, it's the highest knowledge known to humanity, beyond which there is nothing to be known. See, a science can never end, because the more scientists discover laws, the more they will keep discovering laws. So any knowledge pertaining to the world can never end. But when you turn around, that's extrovert, going out into the world. But when you turn around and look within your own personality, seek the knowledge which is true knowledge of your real personality, that is the highest. Now, why we're saying this is important is, with due respects, let's take the example of a doctor. A doctor is treating patients, helping so many patients. But a doctor himself could be an alcoholic, could be a smoker, could be a gambler. Anything could happen. Then you wonder, a man of such reputation, such success, such a good doctor, why did he get into this alcoholism and ruined himself, ruined his career also? You wonder why? Because knowledge of the world is not going to help you to be a strong human being. You need values. You need knowledge of the truth, the reality. So very briefly, I'll try to explain to you why Vedanta is important. When you buy a gadget from a shop, any gadget, and you want to use the new gadget, you just open the package and you bring out a new gadget. What would you look for to use the gadget? Anybody? A manual, right? You need a manual. So the manual will tell you, hey, this is the gadget. This is what it can do. These are all its features, unique features. Then it will also tell you how not to misuse it. The do's and don'ts. Keep this gadget in a good condition. What you should not do. They'll put a cross, red cross, and say, don't do this, because you'll spoil the gadget. So if you go through the instructions manual, then you use the gadget to its fullest potential, and it is a help to you. It makes your life simple. This is the purpose. Now, when a human being is born, you're born, what do you know of yourself? What do we understand about this human being? Everybody who's born grows up, becomes an adult, takes up certain knowledges, either directly or indirectly. Some people are self-taught. They don't go to a university, they don't go to a college, but they're self-taught. But some knowledge you got to have so that you convert it into living. And then once you are capable of earning money, then they say, okay, now you must settle down. You got to get married, and then you get married. And then once you're married, of course you must have children. That's necessary. And this goes on. And then you take care of your children. And then one day, you die. Is this the purpose of life? Is this what we're supposed to do? Have we lived life fully as a human being? Nobody knows. And nobody cares. You know why it doesn't bother you? It's called the bliss of ignorance. You don't know what you're missing. So you're happy. Happy in the sense it doesn't bother you. So there is no instructions manual, as it were, for a human being. Who am I? Who are you? You'll give your name, you'll give your status, you'll give different things about you. And we'll talk and talk, nothing comes out of it. Omar Khayyam says, we talk about and about, we walk out of the same door we came in. We talked a lot, but nothing happened. Now what we're trying to do here is to understand, who am I? Who are you? Who is this human being? So very briefly, I'll cover that. See, every human being is constituted of three aspects. What you see now is my outer personality. What I see now is your outer personality. This is not you. Your body is like a vehicle that brought you here, like your car that brought you here. So your body is here. This is not you. There is something within you. This is just your outer personality. Something within you is called your inner personality. That's everybody. You can be Japanese, you can be African, you can be American, you can be Indian. You're a human being first and last. So this human being has an outer personality and an inner personality. What is the inner personality? Constituted of two factors. This is very important. If you walk away with this understanding, you got a good start. One is mind or manas in Sanskrit. The second is intellect or buddhi in Sanskrit. Manas and buddhi, mind and intellect. What is the mind? The mind is nothing but the sum total of all your feelings. Your likes, somebody said likes and dislikes. Your wishes, your wants, somebody said dreams. I like some dreams and I realize my dreams. Your wishes, your wants, your ambitions, all that put together, your desires, put together is anybody's mind, any human being's mind. But a human being, unlike other creatures, is gifted, a birthday gift for every human being is a buddhi. No creature has a buddhi. Even your dog, you'll say, very intelligent. Even animals, they show a lot of intelligence. It's so minor that for all practical purposes, they're not intelligent as human beings. They cannot compare to a human being's intellect. So this buddhi sets human beings apart from the rest of creation. But the strange part is, we have an intellect, we don't use it. We use about 5 or 10% of the intellect throughout our lives. So this buddhi, how to describe it is, I think with an example you'll understand better. The mind in you is like a child in you. Even in a full-grown, mature adult, the mind is like a child, meaning it can ask for anything, anywhere, anyhow. Sometimes children come and they say, Mama, I want to go. Shh, lecture, keep quiet. You have to quieten the child. A child is fidgety, doesn't want to sit rightly. If a child comes, he may come running up and stand here. Adults will come and say, come, take the child away. Because it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't mean anything, but a child can't understand. That's the nature of a child, because it's not grown. So a child is that which asks for anything, anywhere, anyhow. It has no direction. That is why you can never leave a child alone. Always an adult will be in attendance. Unless, of course, you saw the movie Home Alone. See, that is entertainment. Anything could have happened to that child, Home Alone. You can't leave a child alone. It's not possible. It can hurt itself, can harm itself. So what we're trying to establish here is the mind is like a child, even in a full-grown, mature adult. But then we have an intellect. The intellect acts like the adult in you. So as long as the intellect is alert, see, even if a child is playing, you don't tie a child to a rope and hold it. No, you let the child play, but you're alert. The adult is always watching where the child is going. If the child is going near the balcony, you'll pull it back. If the child is going to the kitchen and picking up a knife, you'll withdraw. So the adult only protects the child, does not suppress the child, does not repress the child. So similarly, the human intellect is designed to protect the mind, to give a direction to the mind so that it doesn't get out of control. Now, if you do not control the mind, you can never find happiness in life, because the mind is full of desires. And as long as you have desires, you will always have some desires that are unfulfilled. And unfulfilled desires give mental agitations. In fact, if you were to define stress, people go through stress. What is stress? If you were to define stress, stress is nothing but unfulfilled desires which cause mental agitations, or mental agitations caused by unfulfilled desires is stress. So what are we trying to do here is to make the intellect strong with, how do you make it strong? With the knowledge of Vedanta. That is where Vedanta comes in. Because what is Vedanta? It's nothing but the knowledge of your true self. Like we said, you have an outer personality. We just described the inner personality, which is your mind and intellect. But the question must arise in our minds, what is our real personality? How does the body function? You're seeing now. You're able to see. You're able to hear. That's the body functioning. You feel good about this. You don't feel good about it. You understand. You don't understand. The intellect is functioning. But what makes the body act? What makes the mind feel? What makes the intellect think? So science will take you up to the brain. It's the brain that sends the trigger and these things happen. But what makes the brain trigger off? We don't know. So where science stops, philosophy starts. That's where the subject of Vedanta comes. So what they are telling us, what all these masters, whether it was Christ or Lord Krishna, Prophet Muhammad or Lord Buddha, Mahavira, a whole range of extraordinary human beings, we all worship them. There are many, many followers for each of them. But what they found, what they discovered, is their true identity. And that true identity or real personality is the same in all. No difference. And when you discover your true identity, you find real happiness. Whatever happiness you find in the world outside, like I said, you will be happy, but it has a shelf life, it is not dependable, and if you indulge, you lose the pleasure. So these are the problems of external pursuits. But if you so much as try to understand, beyond my body, beyond my mind, beyond my intellect, lies my essential self. What is that? How do I discover that? So the Shastras say that is a state of paripurna. Paripurna means total fulfillment. And that total fulfillment you can never find anywhere else except within yourself. There is no other place. Now, all of us are looking for happiness anywhere else except within ourselves. So we never find it. I'll give you another example, maybe you will understand better. Imagine a coil spring. There is no coil spring here, but imagine. You understand a coil spring? Yes? No? Yes. Oh. Okay. Coil spring 4 feet high. I compress it to 1 foot. What do you think is happening to my palm when I compress it? Pressure. Urging my palm which way? Upward. I release it to 2 feet. What happens now? Is there a difference? Less pressure. Okay? I release it to 3 feet. Still less pressure. Now I release it to 4 feet. What happens then? Simple example. Coil spring 4 feet high, I compress it to 1 foot. Tremendous pleasure. Tremendous pressure, underline. Urging my palm only one way, upward. No other way. I release it to 2 feet, less pressure. 3 feet, still less pressure. 4 feet, no pressure. All right. Now my question to you is, Why is there no pressure at 4 feet? Why? I wouldn't use paripurna. Sorry? Yeah. It's how it is supposed to be. Any other answers? Acceptance. Coil has acceptance. Original state. They all of you have given them more or less the answer. See, it has no pressure at 4 feet because it has reached its original state. Now, friends, please examine life, all our lives. Aren't we all going through pressures? Some pressure, some worry, some anxiety, something we're going through, all of us. And what do we say? We've got our fingers ready. I am pressurized because I'm not meeting my deadlines. I've got my exams coming out, a study or something. Or the businessman says, I've got to deliver these goods. These fellows are undependable. Material has not come. I'm going through pressure. You attribute your pressures to something outside of you. Nobody suspects that I am going through pressures because I am not in my original state. This is what you need to examine. The world only makes it that much easy or that much difficult for you to be balanced. But it cannot influence you if you find your true identity. Christ was crucified. He was nailed on a cross. After he had done good for people, he had done service, he gave love, he gave knowledge. And what did they do in return? Put him on a cross and crucified him. And when he was crucified, all that he said is, looked up to the heavens and said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. What must be that state where you have been wronged completely and you're not affected? He's not a piece of stone or wood. He's a human being. That is what we're talking about. Not to be affected by the world when you find your true identity. Socrates was given a cup of poison. He simply took it. He could have easily, his disciples were all ready to help him out because it was unfair what they did. He said, not worth it. He couldn't care. Now, somebody tells you something, what is our reaction? You know who you're talking to? You know who I am? Huh? Don't you dare. You told this to me. In the rest of your life, you will face this. It could happen in a family. Brothers can't get along. Or definitely not mother-in-law, no chance. No chance. Constantly we are conflicting and blaming somebody else. And people find happiness in strange ways. You know, in a small village, there was a couple. They had reached their 25th anniversary. Married couple. It's a small place, you know. So they were celebrating. It says 25 years is silver, is it? Silver anniversary. Silver, okay. Silver anniversary. Because these days it's difficult to reach that also. Silver anniversary, it says a landmark in a marriage. So they were celebrating. And I'm saying how people try to find happiness in the world. So, some lady came to interview the couple. The wife was busy with the arrangements, so she met the husband. Says, you've got 25 years of happy marriage. You seem to be very happy. What is the secret? Like we are saying, no secret of happiness. So he gave his secret of happiness, which is different from what we are saying. But people try to find happiness in many ways. So he said it all started with the honeymoon. Of course, it all starts with the honeymoon. Husband and wife were both riding horses, the honeymoon. So when they were riding, suddenly the horse that the wife was riding threw her off. She fell. The husband was so worried, the wife fell. And she coolly picked herself up and went and whispered to the horse's ears, "This is your first time." He didn't understand what that was. And she sat on the horse and they rode off again. Again, after some time, the horse kicked her off and then she fell. Her husband was about to go and help. Very coolly, she went up to the ears of the horse and said, "This is your second time." She sat on the horse and rode off again. A third time, the horse kicked her out and she fell. This time she took a revolver from her purse and shot the animal dead. Husband was horrified. He said, "What are you doing? Are you mad? What have you done? You've killed the..." She coolly went up to him and said, "This is your first time." Secret of happiness. Huh? So I don't know if you want to have such a married life, but let me tell you, with the knowledge of Vedanta, what happens is you grow within yourself. You evolve. You become a better human. That's what the knowledge will do to you. Because it's knowledge of life and living. That's all it is. I believe there are books available, and I'm sure some classes are going on. I'm here only today. But if you're interested, you need to find out. We have a website. Lots of things that you can do. You can come to the academy for retreats. There's a lot of self-help, but you need to find out. But knowledge you must gain. Now, what happens when you gain knowledge? You become, like I said, a better human. When you evolve, individually, when you evolve, like becoming a better human, your dependence upon the world becomes less and less. So this is the logic of knowledge. Otherwise, you'll say, "I'm not interested in Vedanta, why should I do it?" Now you take up Vedanta, study basic. You don't have to become a scholar. You need basic, you need about 25% knowledge. People like us are spending our whole life. That's for a different purpose. We live this life. But for you to just live in this world, a little bit of knowledge goes a long way. So I'll put it on the screen for you, how it helps you find peace and happiness. Now, I don't know if you can see it at the back, but here is an individual versus world. Can you see it? I don't know if you... Anyway, there are two lines here, AB and CD. They are inversely proportional. AB is going up, CD is coming down. AB and CD, from 0 to 100. That's the marking. So AB, from A is 0, B is 100, C is 0, D is 100. Inversely proportional. Now, AB represents individual development, whatever that development is, with knowledge. Your actions become more dynamic, your feelings become more universal, your thinking becomes more clear. All this will happen to you if you gain knowledge. Now, let's say you're developing yourself. Nobody's at 0. 100% are these masters, a Christ or a Krishna or Prophet Muhammad or Buddha, all these people. They are at 100. And nobody's at 0, good for nothing. Hardly a human, you'll say, is an animal. You know? Nobody's like that. But what is important for all of us to know is all of us are somewhere between 0 and 100. Don't know where. You better find out. Now, depending on your level of development, you will be dependent upon the world. It's inversely proportionate. CD represents dependence upon the world for your happiness. Now, imagine a person has developed 25%, whatever that development is. What is his dependence on the world? 75%. 75% of the world you need to be happy. If you don't have it, you're miserable. Okay. But a person may have capacity for only 50%. With your skills and ability, you may get only 50% of the world. Now this deficit, you need 75, you've got only 50, this deficit is called hell. You go through hell. Agitations, worries, anxiety, stress, strain, anger, hatred, jealousy, all these problems come because there's a deficit. But what we're saying is you pick this up. Go higher. So let's assume a person is at 75% now with the knowledge. What is the dependence? 25%? But he's already got 50%. Because of his ability, he's got 50%. He needs only 25, he's got 50. This buffer is called heaven. Heaven means you're happy. Why? You're not dependent and you will be successful. So what Vedanta teaches you is two things. One is to be successful in the world, and other is to find peace by developing yourself. Now, very quickly, I'll just conclude. How do you find success? I'm not really doing justice, but you'll wonder, you talked about happiness, now what about success? How does Vedanta help? Vedanta helps by giving you clarity. See, when your mind is controlled, we said the intellect is the adult, the mind is the child. When the intellect is trained, and how does the intellect get trained? With knowledge. It's like mental gymnasium. So you go to a gymnasium for physical fitness. Now, you can't walk into a gym and walk out with six-pack. You cannot do that. You have to work. You have to, keep on working on your body. Then you can become physically fit. So similarly, with intellect, you've got to keep on working on knowledge to become fit, strong. The intellect becomes strong. Then the intellect can control the mind, like an adult controlling the child. So, when your mind is agitated, you can't think clearly. If you cannot think clearly, you cannot act properly. If you don't act properly, you cannot be successful. See, a surgeon, he's cutting up so many bodies in the sense successfully. He's a very well-known surgeon. Put his own wife on the operating table, provided they are happy together. No, he can't. See, medical ethics has it that you don't operate on your own family members. Now, why? If he can operate on so many people, why can't he operate on his own wife? Because when he sees his own family member, mind gets agitated. What if I make a mistake? I will never forgive myself. What if I go wrong? What if I this? What if I that? So the knowledge of surgery is clouded temporarily because of agitations. And when the mind is agitated, you can't think straight, you cannot act. So what Vedanta does is, this is an example. So everybody's mind is agitated by something or the other, so our decisions are not always right. We don't think clearly. If you don't think clearly, we cannot act properly, and we can't be successful. So Vedanta helps the intellect to become strong, to control the mind, and with clarity of thinking, you can act perfectly and be successful. And by your own evolution, as we saw in the graph, when you evolve, you become independent of the world and find true happiness within yourself. That is the secret of true happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunandaji. We request Mr. C.P. Tripathi ji, Advisor CSR Bajaj Auto, to present a bouquet to Sunandaji as a token of appreciation. We request everyone to remain seated as Sunandaji leaves the stage, as we have some short announcements. This event is a part of the ongoing efforts of the Vedanta Cultural Foundation to promote higher values in society. If you wish to donate towards such charitable educational activities of VCF, you may contact our colleagues outside. Your donation to VCF would enjoy income tax exemption under Section 80G. Vedanta Cultural Foundation also funds the 3-year residential courses at the Vedanta Academy. The Academy also conducts various short term events, such as our upcoming youth program, which starts on the 18th of December. You may find details about it and other events at the inquiry counter outside. On your way out, kindly collect bags containing Guru Prasad and a brochure outlining the various avenues of learning Vedanta in Chhatrapati Sambhaji Nagar and Jalna. Please enjoy tea or coffee while interacting with our Vedanta alumni at the registration counter. And lastly, we are pleased to share that Sunandaji will be addressing us tomorrow in Jalna on the topic relationship and parenting. Thank you. Hari Om.